welcome back to Dr. J. We're in the 50s now in beauty. 50 videos. And what we're doing is we're making a big foundation here for beauty. We're throwing in some scriptures and some experiences of David, uh, our patriarch. And that's what we're doing. We're taking time to establish beauty. As we continue to go through beauty, we're going to refer back to the introduction here and to 1 through 7. I did have more enumerations here for you, but I've decided to just let's let that slide for now. Let's just stick to 1 through 7. And a lot of you might say, I want more, or you need more, or something. Well, you're going to have to go along with the rest of us here. This is Jeremiah with New Covenant as we get back into beauty, heaven. And we're establishing an introduction, which is, I'm just about done with the introduction. And the introduction is the portion of playlist number 7 when I talk about the basics of biblical beauty. In other words, what does the Bible mean when it talks about owning the capacity to see things, the capacity to experience things, the capacity to perceive, understand things, enjoy them, and to engage that which is beautiful, that which is attractive, which is what most humans desire most of the time. And that can be through skills, that can be through intelligence, it doesn't matter. It basically comes down to satisfaction. And one of the big parts of satisfaction is beauty, no mistake about it. Even skills usually require some sort of color, design, and beauty. Even a robotic mechanism, it has to have some sort of beauty. It has to have some sort of form, color, procedures that are intriguing or exhibit some sort of intelligence. And that's what we're talking about here. And we need to spend time on this issue because it is really one of the core issues, not just in the Bible, but the Bible is life. And I'm here to share that with you, the whole idea that beauty is really the core of everything. 2022 is a year of beauty and heaven. We're going to spend most of the time, I'm going to spend most of my time talking about beauty and heaven. Now, I just went over Romans 2 through 10, and that has about 400 points. And I may categorize those 400 points, changing the subject just for a moment, but there's beauty there in terms of intellectualism. Paul is our leader for intellectualism. James, John, and Peter, and Jude, they are our subtext. There are paratexts too, but in many ways they are the subtext. You can put almost everything under Paul the Apostle in terms of a lot of what he has to say, and that's what gives us our challenge. That's what gives us our work. It doesn't mean that we don't understand, for instance, when we read what Paul says, because I do, in general, of course I do, I have to, but that's not the point. The point is that we're here to organize a lot of thoughts that these gentlemen have given us pertaining to salvation, and we want to organize them, rightly divide them, and we want to accumulate them, and we want to put them to remembrance, and we want to set up some sort of matrix and some sort of schemata, a blueprint. That's what we're doing here, and that's why I have 52 categories here. Now, some of these categories get awfully complicated. For instance, if I try to put Romans 2 through 10 in these categories, it's going to go through quite a few categories. It will probably end up in sound doctrine. Most of the precepts in Romans end up in sound doctrine, which is playlist number 2. The basic doctrine of Christianity is established by Paul the Apostle. The Lord chose him to establish church doctrine in general. And I'm going to have 400 points to go over, probably just through 2 through 10. I'm not sure yet, but it looks like 400 principles. You want to tie those principles in with Paul, with Peter and James and John, and then of course you want to tie in the Master. You want to do that? Then add David, Proverbs, Isaiah, and before you know it, you've got your work cut out for you, which is what we're doing here. We're here to put all the pieces together here. Jeremiah, as my buddy used to say, payback, he ain't playing. I have 4 work areas here in my house. I just have to turn my bedroom into a work area. I'm not going to get too personal with you. I'm just saying there's a lot of work here, and we like the fruit of our labors here. See, if you watch TV all day, then you'll have a TV brain. Like that chocolate movie I have, which is a very engaging movie, although it has some very serious felonies in that movie. It's not a good movie all the way around. However, if you ignore some of the serious errors in the movie, it's a very good movie. You know. But the little creature said that if you watch TV all day, you'll have an IQ of 3. Well, that's what happens here. When you start getting out here in the world and you meet people and you meet them and they're basically entertainment oriented, and it doesn't mean they're not saved. We're not here to talk about salvation necessarily right now. What we're talking about is just where your mind is. What do you want? You know, the libraries are available for everybody here. When I turn the television on, I see people such as Fox News people, and they talk about things, and you can tell that they spend a lot of time in the library, and they have a good memory, and they've read lots of books. But while they're talking with you, they're sharing with you what they know. They're not telling you that they spent a lot of time studying and they graduated from school. That's the point. In order for you to ascertain your world and know what your world is like, you got to get to some books. Now, I'm not talking about going into books forever, all day long, without a break. That's not what I'm talking about. Some people, they get that from me and they're getting nervous or something. I don't know, because somebody's making them go to work. But no. I don't work every hour of the day here. This is Jeremiah with New Covenant. We're open to finish Psalm 8. We'll probably tie it into the introduction of beauty. But the point is that we're dealing with the introduction of beauty right now. I'm just about done with that. And when I'm done with the introduction of beauty, I'm going to start reading through the Bible again. I was going to read for playlist number 2, I was going to read chapters Romans 2 through 10. Then I decided, no. I'll read 2 through 10, then I'll give you my take on 2 through 10. First of all, it's impossible to go through 2 through 10 exhaustively and to do it justice. There's too much there's far too much there. The best we can do is, for the time constraints we have, is for me to go through the basics with you. Okay? I'll give you the intellectual, salient basics, and then we'll leave it at that. Because it's impossible to go through the Bible the way I want to go and to spend 30 years on 2 through 10. Can't do it. Now, I'll probably go back to 2 through 10 a number of times. Even chapter 1 gets a little complicated. So you go 2 through 10, then you have 11 and 12, which lend more towards Paul's personal perspective on his homeboys, the Israelites, and how they are in trouble and how they're not in trouble and whatever. You know what I mean? It's deep. But we're going to focus probably on 2 through 10. And I have decided to get through the heavy stuff as this ministry is devoted to doing. I just read Hezekiah, and Sennacherib and the Persians and the angel wiping out over 100,000 in one night and all this. But we don't have time for that at this point. I put a video up on Esther with some pop music that I made. I like playing all different kinds of music, and those of you who go to my music channel, you'll see that I'm all over the place. However, let's talk about music for a moment. We'll get back to beauty, because music is beauty also. Let me share something with you. And we'll get back to the introduction here. And I mentioned Paul 2 through 10, which is like monstrous stuff. As far as Protestantism goes, 2 through 10 is just like, it's the honey for sound doctrine. But just to show you how complicated things are, that's not even the full spectrum, because you have 1st and 2nd Timothy, you have 2nd Timothy, 1st, 2nd Timothy of Titus. Okay, then you have more over here, and then more about love from John. And John gives you 10 aspects of love. He hammers it home, and the Bible study just goes on and on and on. And we're enjoying the journey here. And for those of you who have chosen me as your leader, so to speak, I go through this stuff and I make sure that you understand it in a very simple format, okay? And I am very happy to have gone through Romans 2 through 10 and so on. I'm very happy to have done so. As we focus on beauty, and we're looking at beauty in the introduction to beauty, and 7 points about beauty as we get ready for chapters 2 and 3 of the book of Revelation, and we're using also Psalms as one of our main resources, because David gives you boots on the ground Christianity and beauty. He gives you boots on the ground, the beauty of God's mercy, the beauty of you being in a hole and then getting yourself out of the hole. That's what this is all about. Can you make it any more simpler than that? No, that's as simple as you need. David repeatedly tells us, and he already did that, chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and in heaven, 8 is more of, he finally got done with it. He's finally done with complaining, and then he goes back to chapter 10, and now he really goes back to chapter 6 again, where he's now in deep trouble again. But he's crying unto the Lord, and these are excellent examples for us in our day-to-day lives, that off and on, you're gonna probably need to cry unto the Lord, just like he's doing. And what better than somebody who is a Christian man like David, who you can listen to his cries and you can fellowship with him. Some of you who don't have a church, maybe. I know that COVID has slowed down some church activity, but if you're in Sharia law, if you belong to a cartel member family in South America or whatever, you may have to start doing things on your own. There is no Christian church that's available to you. So that means that you're going to have to start establishing a lot of stuff on your own, studying alone, online, getting yourself a King James Red Letter Edition Bible, and getting to work like solo. O sola mio, you're going to have to work alone, maybe some of you. I hope that I reach some of these Muslim people or some of these people under Sharia law, where if you contradict what they say and what they believe, that it can be extremely hazardous to your health in terms of your bodily health. But we hope to be out there for everybody who is under dire straits. That's the point here. Now, I've already reached a few people, and they've told me that they've enjoyed and that they really want to continue to listen to the podcast, whatever you call them. It's not a podcast, but I think podcasts are live, or the differentiate between a podcast and this cast. All I know is that we're in a cast. And we can't wait to get out of the cast. I got a broken leg and I'm in a cast. And we just went through Paul talking about we all groaning together in Romans. The earth and all nature groans together for the liberation of all of this confusion and all of this wickedness. I've been following politics a little bit closely recently, And I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know that things were as bad as they are in terms of how the condition of America, for example, and other places. Farmers overseas were told that they can't farm and they're going to take their farms away from them. Hundreds of farmers, they're going to take their land from them and they can't grow or something. So this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this on television or on the web, or what do we call it, Fox News or news, any news. I don't know what news, okay? So let's get back to beauty, heaven, and we're going to get into the introduction into what beauty and heaven are, and how it relates to life, ability, capacity, experience, perception, engagement, attraction, how all of this is all one big ball. And that it falls under the category generally of various things. It falls under grace and mercy. You can experience all of this without God giving you the favor, mercying you. He has to have pity upon you in order for you to experience good. That's the essence of everything in the Bible. You cannot experience good or anything that's delightful or something you can enjoy without His providence. And we talked about off and on here about how as far as America is concerned, it's provincial. His sovereignty. Now, let's get back to beauty, heaven. We have some ideas I want to go over, and we're going to use Psalm 8. Now, I was going to use Proverbs. I decided to leave Proverbs alone for a while. Let me tell you why. Because you have a father-son relationship. Now, the son is more along the lines of mentioning a dozen things at a time, and it's too thick. David gets too thick for us to read through. You can't read through something that you don't comprehend. When you do that, all you're doing is kind of wasting your time. Now you may pick up on things later and have what they call in psychology or in your dictionary an aha moment, where you've been reading, you didn't get it, you read it, and all of a sudden you say, aha, I got it. Well, that's what a lot of Bible study is. A lot of people don't get stuff when you read it and you teach, but a year down the road they piece it together and they go, whoa, I understand what that parable means now. Well, a lot of Bible study is done in that fashion. That's why a lot of people prefer Pentecostal teaching. They like the Gestalt, gleaning of information, where all of a sudden you start putting things together. You just listen for a while. Now, as many of you have gathered, I don't have that style most of the time. Most of the time I go through numbers and we identify numerical concepts here. But even then, it's going to require your organization in your mind. No matter how many numbers you give or how you put up a schemata or a blueprint, you're still going to have to put it together yourself. And we're talking about you and the Father. The Father is the Spirit of truth. He's going to guide you, Paracletus. He's going to walk alongside you as a teacher, and he's going to teach you precisely what you need to know in time. That's the point. Okay? But as far as you're going to have to concentrate. So that's my point. Father's not going to make you concentrate. I was talking with a Bible teacher the other day, and he was telling me that God forces you to concentrate on something. I didn't laugh or anything, but it's kind of laughable. It is. It's sad but laughable at the same time that somebody would think that God's going to force you to really do basically just about anything, when it's obvious that He wants you, through simple grammar, He wants to watch people make proper decisions. And since human beings have a tendency to make the wrong decision, He's obviously going to be tolerant in you making decisions. And it doesn't mean that I don't understand that God coerces people. He corners them a little bit. He pushes them. But He's not going to grab the steering wheel all the time. That's common sense. That's basic grammar, that there are two steering wheels in every Christian's automobile in your life. He's not going to grab your steering wheel all the time. Now, I've been talking with some, I don't know if they're Calvinists or people who are persuaded by this predetermined thing, because we general Bible teachers who are Protestants, we don't call ourselves anything. I don't call myself a Calvinist or Wesleyan. I don't have a name for myself. Paul never calls himself anything but basically a Protestant Christian. That's what he calls himself. Okay, I teach sound doctrine. That's all he says. So why shouldn't I do the same thing? To say that I lean towards predestination or I lean towards you're absolutely on your own and all of this, this is utter, it doesn't make any sense. That anyone would really choose to do that. Paul doesn't do that. Why did you do it? I'm a Calvinist or whatever. It doesn't mean that you're not totally, it doesn't mean you're totally wrong. What it means is that why did you do it in the first place? If Paul said I teach sound doctrine, why don't you tell me you teach sound doctrine? Why did you tell me you're Calvinist or Spurgeonist or Martin Lutherist or what are you doing it for? Is my point. Why don't you just read the Bible? Why do we have to go places where we don't need to go? And furthermore, there's nothing intellectually sound or beneficial by you calling yourself this person. We have our total doctrine right in our face. Why add, or maybe even subtract, or okay, wait a minute. Okay, stop the train. Get off the train, and then we can keep going. That's what happens eventually, doesn't it? When we just say, okay. Paul said he teaches sound doctrine. That's all I need to call it. The master calls it the doctrine. Okay, that's good enough. They were called Christians at Antioch. Okay, isn't it enough? I don't know why we have to go down these roads, I'm a Calvinist, I believe in predeterminalism or nothing like that. The Bible teaches predeterminism, but it also teaches you got a steering wheel in your car. Okay, it teaches both of those things. That simple 4th to 8th grade grammar. Why we have to go somewhere else, I don't know. As a Bible teacher, I run into guys like some of these guys, and they tell me, predeterminism or something. And the gentleman over here, Pastor Tom, was a buddy of mine around the corner, talking about teachers for a moment. He never talks about predeterminism, and it's wonderful to run into somebody who doesn't give in to some of this stuff. I don't know. I haven't talked too much to Pastor P over here. I was supposed to hook up over there, but I've been so busy joining another ministry over here. But right now, we're just hammering home New Covenant here. This is Jeremiah with New Covenant, and we greet you in the only name given amongst men, by which you must be saved, lifting up hearts and hands and voices, crying out, Maranatha, that the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ, as we groan in the Spirit, awaiting with nature to get this mess out of the way, this whole messy world. And at the same time, we are rejoicing in the powers that we do endeavor, which is to bind up the brokenhearted and free those who are captive. And Christianity is a little complicated, isn't it? We're out of kindergarten now. We've got to think. We have to add ideas. We have to organize. And if that bothers, I have a few people who are following along consistently here. They're obviously finding time to be disciplined. That's why Jesus calls them my disciples. That's why he says, you cannot be my disciple. What does that mean? That means there are some people who are hanging around Jesus who don't want discipline. So he tells them, you cannot be my disciple, based upon the fact that you're essentially clowning around. I'm paraphrasing the master. I can do that. He lets me do that a little bit. But we want to go to the scriptures. But just at this moment, because it came into my head, that if any man come after me, let him take up his cross. That's the same thing as you cannot be my disciple. That's the same thing as many people followed after him, Okay, what does that mean? That's like somebody coming into your house to buy a house, and they need a house, and they walk right through the house. You don't need to walk through the house, you need the house. I talk to people as a Bible teacher, and I mention living bread to them, and they tell me basically, I don't want living bread. And I'm looking at them and I'm wondering, even an animal knows that they need living food to survive. Even animals know that, and for human beings to reject living bread, it's I don't know, it's absurd, isn't it? That someone would tell you that this is Jesus Christ, He is the way to living bread, and if you eat these ideas, which are humility, love your neighbor, you'll live forever. Then they tell you that I don't want the living bread. So what does that make them? That makes them unwise. Wise people want to take care of themselves. That's what the Bible teaches. This is not Buddhism or some religion overseas. This is Protestantism. This is not where you can go throw yourself down and feed animals and something. That's psychosis. A lot of these religions around the world, they have definite elements of psychosis. We don't have psychosis here in Protestantism. We don't serve the Lord just for other people. I had somebody tell me one day, said, oh, you're supposed to be a servant for other people. I said, no, you're not reading your Bible. Solomon said, if you're wise for yourself. Now, I might throw myself on the rocks, so to speak, my life, that's pleasures of the world and whatever, for serving and pleasing the Lord, which is what I do. My point is that that's not death, that's life. Because when you go to the next plane on the Lord's day, you have a testimony that you love Jesus Christ. And what's the most valuable thing in the world? For 2,000 years, a testimony of life that you love Jesus Christ. That's the most valuable thing there is. There are two things that are very valuable in this world: innocence and owning Jesus Christ, and a testimony that you love Jesus Christ. Those are the two things that you can own, that are the most valuable things in the world as per humans. Now, children, they're always considered innocent until they get up into the teenager age, because all they do is eat, eat, and go to sleep, and do math books. They don't get out in the world and get wild, because they basically can't. Therefore, they're still considered not at the age of accountability. That's the point. So innocence is the most important thing there is. It will always be the most important thing there is. Jesus Christ is innocent. We just looked at John 14 a number of times, and the Master said, I don't have anything to do with evil at all. Nothing. I don't have anything at all to do with the devil and what they do. I don't have anything to do with it. So innocence is the most important thing there is. Now, when you come to Jesus Christ, you're declared innocent, based upon coming and offering your life as love service to the church and to binding up the brokenhearted. It's just that simple. And if you did that, when you on the Lord's day, the Lord's going to say, "There goes Jeremiah. He loved me," and that was the command, to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. He fulfilled that royal demand. So my sacrifice can be applied to him. The legal replacement of his errors can be applied to him now. I was talking to a lady here the other day. She said, my mother wants to know what to do. She goes to a Catholic place or something. I said, first of all, tell her to leave that place. But the Bible says to flee Babylon. Second of all, she needs a testimony of Jesus Christ. That's what she needs. She needs to get on her knees, repent, and be baptized. Go find a Protestant church and do what you're supposed to do. It's not that complicated. And then tell the pastor or tell the Lord personally in your prayer closet, tell Father, that my Father which art in heaven, give me this day my daily activities so that I might bind up the brokenhearted. That's the first thing the Master taught. I'm here to bind up the brokenhearted. Is that really that hard to figure out? Oh, let's sit here with a Jeopardy moment. Okay, everybody should get that. Yet a lot of people don't get it. I talk to people all the time, and I say, what was the force the love force of Father, why did he put it inside of his only begotten Son when he put him on the earth? To do what? I don't know. Well, see, there you have it, a falling away, a rebellion against the truth. What's the Greek word? Apostasia. Apoasia. I forgot how you pronounce the word, but anyway. Apostasia. I think it's apostasia. That's the word. Apostasia. It means to fall away from a state of being. You were on your way to doing intelligent things, but something got in the way. Something got in the way, and now you sound like you don't know up from down anymore. What that's called falling away from intelligence. It's falling away from what you should know. What you should know is the first thing the Master taught. That Father has put me in Israel and Jerusalem and all the adjacent areas to bind up the Israelites who are brokenhearted. That's my first job. And when John sent a letter to him from the brethren, what are we supposed to do now? And Jesus sent a word back. Essentially, we're binding up the brokenhearted. Even though you're in jail, people have taken your spot. Down goes a soldier, but on goes the war. I'm a soldier of love. I'm a soldier out here to bind up broken hearts, and that's what I'm doing here. What do you mean? What are we doing? And who should we look for somebody else to lead us? In other words, I'm in jail, and I want some leadership that doesn't allow me to go to jail. Maybe that might be what he's saying. Sounds like it to me. And the Master sent back, we're all going to jail, so deal with it. And don't worry about the ones who can destroy your body. Be concerned about the ones who can take your body or can take your soul and put it downstairs. Which means you have an opportunity to serve. Basically be quiet, get over in the corner, man up and do what you're told as a servant of the Lord and be a winner here. Instead of all of this maybe area of complaining and all this, let's just shut that down for now. Let's just all go to work here. All this, crying and complaining. Well, we can understand people crying and complaining, and we're not going to condemn John the Baptist, but the point still remains. The Master sent back to him is that people are being, their hearts are being binded, and the broken hearts are being mended as you're talking right now. And you're looking for somebody else? What do you mean looking for somebody else? In other words, you lost the focus of why we're here. You thought that we were here to be free from jail or something. Wrong answer. We're here to bind up the brokenhearted, and whatever happens to us doesn't really matter that